Ivan, everyone. With me is uh, no less a person than Emerson, so to say, because I was looking forward to this meeting with him for some time, and finally we were able to make it. And Emerson, welcome to this channel, and welcome on board.
Thank you so much, Vipula, for inviting me.
Right now, Emerson, let me quickly give you the background. I have been interviewing several speakers, spiritual speakers. Initially, what I did was I gave them a platform for them to express their views, the ones who were the Sri Lankans living in Sri Lanka and overseas. And then I gradually, um, I was able to reach out to a few non-dual speakers.
Hmm.
Uh, and I think I have covered about five non-dual speakers by now.
Yes.
Uh, And then I have obviously some questions to ask you because I have watched you for some time, about a couple of years, and I have joined some of your meetings and raised some questions in between also. And something that I admire in what you do is that I think there's altruism in your approach because I saw that you were interviewing people. There was a time that you were interviewing some known speakers. So I felt, um, it's beautiful, So rather than say, I know this, I have seen this, and uh, I mean, you could have taken that approach from the beginning, but then when you interviewed others, it was very enlightening, right? So now let me start with the question for the benefit of our viewers.
Yeah.
The non-dual message is very, very, in a way, new. But however, in Sri Lanka, people who have gone into studies of Buddhist scriptures, they have realized the non-dual message is stated um, in some sermons. Whatever the sayings of non-dual speakers, you can find it in Buddhist scriptures somewhere. Now, the the main question is that uh, things happen on their own, and you can't identify a self, and the self does not have free will and choice. And seeing this is freedom. So this is how some of the speakers are uh, throwing this message across. If I ask you, Emerson, how would you like to say this message in a just few sentences?
Yeah. So, so what is being attempted to be expressed can actually be said. There is this directness where there lies this endless void. Like it's a chasm that's so vast, so beyond comprehension, that words, language, ideas, concepts crumble and beliefs disintegrate upon its edge. It's a space without a space. It's a placeless place. It's kind of like a suspension between the known and the unknowable, where the very fabric of duality is torn apart and rendered meaningless. So it's like a raw immediacy. It's unfiltered intimacy. It's a connection that is so profound that it defies all cognitive grasping. So there is this speechlessness, this languageless, wordless, where two opposites, when they meet in between, there is something that cannot be said, but yet it's palpable. It's like a plunge into the twilight between the familiar and the unknown. It's an infinite expanse without a center. It's untouched, it's uncharted. It's where the mind dares not to thread. So the mind, in between mind and no mind, there's a seemingly infinite silence, like a sea of tranquility. Between self and no self, there's something that cannot be said. So in the landscape of non-duality right now, there are many words that have been thrown around to express this nameless unknowable. but they're all just belief systems. They're just positions in trying to express something that can't be expressed. So therefore, a lot of things that's being said about it is contradictory. So what I usually do right now, rather than be a speaker or a teacher or, you know, someone that knows, I position myself as just in between you and I. When we meet in between, we both disappear. So for example, if I ask you, what is in between belief and non-belief? It's akin to like the Buddha standing there with a flower and being silent completely. So I'm trying to express silence. And the focus right now on what I do is one-on-ones, kind of like what I say, right? When two people meet, then there is this immediacy, this directness that can't be thought, that can't be transferred, because it's already here. It's already present. It's already what is, that cannot be said.
Now, Emerson, when you say this,
Yeah.
for the viewer, for the listener, obviously there is this notion that, I would like to have his experience. I would like to know. He has seen something. He has experienced something. Uh, he's speaking on this non-dual message. So I would like to have the same experience. So in other words, the second question will be, okay, what am I supposed to do? So now it's $1 million question. Everyone will
Yeah.
say, okay, I would like to have your experience. So teach me how to get
So
there.
I would usually ask the person what's between doing and not doing. And usually what happens is they come into the directness where they can't say anything. So rather than talking about concepts, ideas, or negation, saying that there's no me, there's no self, there's no contracted energy, that's all just words. Or saying that there's awareness, there's consciousness, just words. So lately I've been just pointing really directly. And I basically say that there's no difference between you and I. Because the moment that I start speaking in a knowledge, then I lose you. Then you're like, he has something that I don't have. So I take away all the knowledge, I take away all the belief. For example, ask at this very moment, Vipula, what do you believe if you can go to the past or the future?
At this moment.
Yeah, at this very moment, if you can go to the past or the future, what's your belief?
You cannot, because you are just here.
Exactly. So when you get into that point that I don't know or cannot, or the mind can't comprehend it, there's a clarity usually that expresses without any comprehension, without any control, without anything. And the naturalness, the directness, the flow, kind of like in the middle, where all the opposites seem to create this, he has something that I don't. How do I get there? What if we see that those are both illusions, and if you go directly, the opposites vanish?
Hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Emerson, when you asked me the question, I gave you the answer, but I gave the answer through knowledge, not
Exactly.
from any
So
experience.
usually, because you know what, I'm not doing a one-on-one right now, so I would usually ask you, that would be from the past. So if you can't go, what's between self and no self? Try to go there. And if you can't go to the past or the future, what's in between there?
I would say this
That's just
presence.
how about trying something that's not a second-hand knowledge or something that you've never heard before? But because even saying the word "this" is something that you learn from someone. So if you can go to the past or the future, what do you believe at this very moment?
Cannot express.
Okay.
Cannot. Yeah,
Yeah.
because if I say something, it's driven by something, some knowledge in the
Exactly.
past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you cannot express, if it's an I don't know, for example, if I cannot express, who is the I that cannot express?
Yeah, you become kind of
No, answer it. Who's the I that cannot
answerless.
express? Yeah, what's the I that cannot express? Sorry.
Um,
Sorry if I'm
what
going
is
so
the
direct.
I that cannot, no, no,
Yeah.
that
Who was the
I
I?
that
What's the
cannot,
I? Yeah. Yeah. Can express because you say I cannot express or I don't know. Isn't the I just
yeah,
another belief?
yeah, it is. It is
Yeah.
also some kind of a concept coming from the
Yeah.
past. Yes.
Yeah. So what's between a belief and a non-belief?
Uh, Again, something that cannot be expressed.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
So there is this almost like this piece that you cannot speak about, right? There's this almost the
Mm.
directness at this very moment that is very immediate. So if you can't go to the past or the future, there's this, I can't even say
Even
it.
to say it is this,
Yeah,
even to say it's presence,
yeah,
even to say even they are all coming from the
that's
past.
right.
Yes, you're
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely right.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So if you can't go to the past or the future, there is something in between, in the middle, that is so unspeakable. And then the words are almost like the dreams, and then the silence is awake.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And that silence, even to say silence,
it's too much.
will be a problem.
It's
It's
making
too
too
much.
much
Yes.
noise. Yeah. Kind of like what I said, when the Buddha, had that lotus,
Mhm.
it was completely silent. That's what I'm trying to express without even showing anything. And because the tendency for a lot of people is if they're in the awareness practice, they would be, being aware of awareness. If they're in the radical practice, there'll be no practice. So it's in between
Yes.
practice and no practice.
I mean, it's for me, it's like I'm hearing Buddha's words because of the fact that I have read, because that's why Buddha's teachings can't be understood because it is written. The
Yeah.
moment it is written, we try to attach a
Yeah.
concept and we try to understand from the past knowledge. I mean, you said something very very worthwhile because every time we say something, it's actually the past. It's
It
past
is.
knowledge.
It is. Every
Yeah.
single word is made up. So when you utter the word I, utter the
Mhm.
word me, self, that's based from a knowledge that's been passed on already. But what I'm trying to express in the naturalness is that in that complete silence before the mind, before the
Mhm.
ideas, before the words, um, there is a directness that can't be
Let me
touched by
ask you.
language.
All right,
So all of
I
this
understood, but
concept of, you know, no free will or free will for me is just concepts, it's just beliefs.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And Emerson, tell me,
yeah.
is the way the I mean, almost 8 billion people who believe that they are born into this world and they are traveling along a timeline,
Hmm.
and in that you have your goals
Yeah,
which you want to reach, and then you reach old age after, getting married, having children, doing your job, all that.
yeah,
Now that's the common version of the majority of the 8 billion people in this
yeah,
world. Now, in this message that you are communicating, and now you prefer one-on-one because I believe, I mean, that's the way. In fact, someone said long years ago about the Buddha's message, you must whisper this to someone's ear,
yeah.
uh, uh,
It
rather
can't be
than just
said.
giving this.
Yeah. So even my if you go to my YouTube channel, like like maybe the last 50 videos that I've done is all one-on-ones. And then
Mm,
there is a seeming shift in the perception. Because
mm,
rather than sitting on a pedestal on a chair, doing lectures and everything, that just
mm.
reinforces that there's something that you are missing in
Yeah,
knowledge. But I'm not talking about knowledge or wisdom or concepts or ideas like radical or, awareness or any free will or everything, because that's just a position. Even saying that there's no me is a position, it's a belief system.
mm, it is.
Yeah. Even if they say that there's no one to believe, that's just another idea.
Exactly.
And then it creates this idea that there is no me here and there's a me there. What does it
Yeah.
do? Then it just creates this suffering that there is something that you're missing. So what I do is, why don't we get rid of all the words? right at this moment, if there are no words, if you're looking this without words, what's the difference
Yeah,
between you and I? Yeah, there's no
yeah,
difference.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, without beliefs or non-beliefs, because a non-belief is just a belief. In between that, that's where you and I meet and we both dissolve. So I'm not coming
Mm,
from a position of knowing now. It's there's just this invitation to
mm,
basically disappear for a moment so that there's
mhm,
calmness, right? So that the seeking ends, the suffering stops.
mm.
Because without thought, without ideas, without beliefs, what's there?
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's an instant
Without
quiet,
names, without, mm,
without names, without a leader, without like someone on a
mm,
pedestal, without
mm,
a, without an authority figure, without this enlightened beings and awakened beings and everything, because that just creates a specialness.
yeah.
So this what I'm trying to express is accessible by 8 billion, if you know what I'm saying, in the appearance of
Mm,
this world,
mm,
8 billion, because we know when people are doing, something that they love, when the thoughts are not there, there's an awakeness there. But it's
mm,
always overlooked over and over and over again. If you notice some of the greatest composition in music, they're like, I did not write this, it just wrote by itself. Or someone will say that
mm,
God wrote this or whatever. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? So in this directness, when in between thoughts and no thoughts, there is an aliveness,
mm,
there is a radiance, and there is peace that cannot really be comprehended because there's no words for it. So what's being presented is a freedom from all ideas of freedom, because one idea of freedom is contradictory to another person's idea of freedom.
yeah,
Someone will say
exactly.
that predetermination is freedom, and someone will say no one has to have a freedom, but that's just another idea because there's no one to have freedom. So it's just a bunch of blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Shh. You know, it's like
Yeah, Emerson, actually, some years ago, probably, I think it's about 12 years, uh, I was walking and there was this, in Buddhist scriptures, there's a meditation on metta. It is
yeah,
loving kindness.
yeah,
So, I mean, I have not shared this with anyone because since you are now, having this very open discussion, I thought
yeah,
that, and then something happened
yeah,
and something happened. It was like every time there is a thought, you express metta immediately about a person, about the institution, about something. When a thought comes, now this was a long thing because I used to walk for about 2 3 hours in the evening because of my sugar condition, and something happened. It everything stopped.
yeah,
Everything stopped. I looked around. What happened? Looks like I lost my weight, kind of thing,
yeah,
and then what really happened? I mean, nothing has changed. Everything was there, but there was this lightness. That's all I can say, lightness.
yeah,
And then it lasted for about, I would say, a few hours, and I was still wondering what it was. And then of course it faded away. So back to the mind driven thing. Now this was long time ago, and now I feel you are actually elaborating it. It's a wordless or expressionless
yeah,
something. Yeah, now I'm trying to sort of recall what it was, and you are elaborating it
yeah,
in a different way.
yeah, yeah. And it's just what I've noticed is that people that have been listening to non-duality, because they book one-on-one with me, is that they've been seeking, 10 years, 20 years, 5 years, and they can't seem to get
Exactly.
out of it. And so what's the point of speaking just to pat your own kind of like, self or whatever ego to think that you got something better now because you speak in a very distinct way, that there's no me or it's all awareness. Um, so it has landed somewhere. The idea that there's no me or it's all
Yeah,
awareness is just a landing. So now you think that you're enlightened being or there's no me. Same thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's from the it's
Exactly.
from the it's from the it's still a thought, right? And people don't like what I'm saying because it shakes up all the belief system. Um, but in the quietness of it, it doesn't matter what's between right and wrong, what's in between opposites. Kind of like what you're saying. Everything, there's a something that is so direct that it can't be said. Because the moment that I say something, then it's in time.
Yeah.
And the
Mm-hmm.
moment that I say something, then it's made up. The moment I say
Mm-hmm.
something, then it's something that has been passed on. So I try to go to a place where the thinking ceases. For example, if I say, what's in between thinking and not thinking? What's there?
Something you said struck me. Something you said really struck me because whatever you say, whatever the answer I give you, it's not an answer now.
No,
It's coming from a belief or a concept. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So listening to nonstop to speakers and teachers and everything just reinforces that there's something missing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it
Definitely.
seems like that someone's got it and you don't have it. So
Yeah.
what's the point of that? So
Mm-hmm.
what's the purpose of a speaker or a teacher if they'll just keep you seeking, if they keep you
Mm-hmm.
suffering? So stop all
Mm-hmm.
that. It's like a new era of clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and no disrespect for teachers and speakers, of course, and everybody, right? But it does create this idea that someone's got it. Someone dropped the me. Someone got enlightened. But if the person in the first morning when they wake up, when there are no thoughts, when there are no ideas, there's this silence. And then the thoughts come in and saying, like, I have to go do this, do that, and everything. And then in between, during the day, for example, when there is a joy, for example, if you like doing art or music or building, something that you love, there's no thoughts there. So it's not about getting rid of the thoughts, because getting rid of a
Yeah.
thought is just a thought. So what if everything that seems to be happening that you think is just a thought is just a belief? So what are you without belief or thoughts? It goes back into that pristineness, that
Mm.
moment,
Okay.
when you're a baby, when there's no language,
Okay.
when there's just easiness. And then we learn
You
that we
see
have a
that
problem. Sorry, go ahead.
you see that there are a lot of people, they use this word, you go back to the era where you were a baby, and then the baby wouldn't know anything. And then what happens is, again, you grab that as a concept. Ah, okay, now I am a
Yeah,
baby. Now I have to be a
yeah,
baby,
yeah,
So once again, you are caught up in a trap. So,
yeah.
whatever the way you are trying to say, people try to grasp it
Of course, yeah.
as a
So
concept.
what I try to say, so what if that innocence is always here? That silence never really left. That you don't have to go back into a baby and everything. So just what's in between, the opposites, because we learn the opposites through language. We learn the something's missing, something's in the next. So what if that baby nature, let's just call it, you know what I'm saying? That baby nature, that innocence nature can never be disturbed. It's always is. Even if we learn concepts and everything. And the mind is like a hoarder, right? We hoard teachers and speakers and ideas and books and everything, kind of like the teachings of Buddha you were mentioning earlier. The moment it gets written, it becomes muddy.
Yeah.
So what happened to me when I was seeking for a long time, like 30 years. So I started in my 20s. I'm turning 53 soon. So
Yeah.
um, and about 8 years ago, after being a spiritual teacher, teaching meditation for a long time, and then I thought I lost it. I thought I lost my enlightenment. So I went into severe depression and severe anxiety. I listened to all the teachers, radical awareness, everything. Um, it was helpful to hear radical in the beginning to say that there's no self, no me, but it
Mm.
becomes depressing because you're trying to go to the no me.
Mm.
You're trying to drop the me because you hear all of these speakers that there's no me, and it just becomes impossible. So I stopped seeking altogether. And then one day when I was about to have this severe anxiety, I used to have panic attacks.
Mhm.
And I just played music. I DJ. So in
Mhm.
between DJing, there was this directness. I went into the in between where everything is
Mhm.
just is, and I could not find Emerson because it's just a
Mhm.
thought. It's just a concept, and I haven't found Emerson since. There's a thought of Emerson. There's an idea of Emerson. There's a belief of Emerson. But what's the point of saying that to a person? So this is the way that I see it. Although there's no self, it feels like there's someone here. So it's in between.
Right.
Yeah. Although
And
there's no choice, there is a thought that you're choosing things. Because what's
sometimes I
happening,
wonder.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, sorry, I interrupted you.
Because what happens is I forgot. No, go ahead.
No, because there was this in Buddha's teachings, he has continuously said it's a middle path, it's a middle, it's a
Yeah.
middle. It repeatedly said it's middle, it's neither this nor that. And there were people who came and questioned him on certain things. He was very silent. He was not giving an answer. I mean, is there an Atman? He gave no answer. Is there no Atman? He gave no answer. So then, later one of his disciples asked, "How come you didn't give an answer?" He said, "Well, if I said yes, then he would carry that with him. If I say no, he'll carry that." Well, once again, as I said, because it is written, again, there's a problem because then people read it and then you try to grasp it as a concept.
So that's what happened to me basically when this realization or whatever you might want to call it undoing is I could not find my thoughts. I could not find my beliefs. It was just silence. And then I was not able, well, I did not speak for a whole month. I was just completely silent and I was walking around, eating, but just I was supposed to do a retreat, but I canceled it because I said, I have nothing to teach because I was a
Mm,
spiritual teacher before. I have nothing to teach.
mm,
So it canceled the whole thing. And and then the first thing that I did after a month of silence when I got back to my house is I took all my books and put it in a garbage bag
mm.
because I had books like I had the I Am book, the book of, you know,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
A Course in
We have
Miracles,
gone through. We have gone through all that. Yeah.
Power of Now. So I used to
Mm.
carry them in a luggage because I would be reading them every day and everything, trying to figure out, and what is liberation. And I'm like, well, this is contradictory to what this person is saying. This is
Yeah.
contradictory to what Tony is saying. It's just all convoluted. And so I almost like had a psychosis because I was memorizing the Bhagavad Gita. I was
Mm,
memorizing the Upanishads, the I Am, and all of the classic books. So one day I just threw it out, and then it was just one of those biggest relief. So you've seen me as an interviewer. There was already clarity there. I was just happy to be behind the scenes. Uh,
mm.
I did not even want to teach or speak or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Mm,
So for quite a while, one day, one of the speaker could not make it. And then because people know that I've been doing one-on-ones on the side, so someone said, "Hey Emerson, why don't you speak?" And I started speaking and it was like effortless. It just came out. All the words came
mm,
out, and at that time I was more radical. But ever since I've been meeting people on a one-on-one basis, meeting them where they're at. So a lot of compassion happens, a lot of um kindness, saying, seeing where
mm,
they're at.
mm, mm,
And basically I said, I've been through that suffering for quite a while, right? I suffered so much. I gave up one time, I gave up my house and basically worked on the streets and gave away all my wealth, and everything very Buddha like, right? But I thought that I
mm.
was going to attain something from it. So when I
Mm,
was doing the selfless service, at one point, what am I doing this for? Am I doing it for myself? Am I really
mm,
doing it? And then I stopped. I'm like, oh no, I'm trying to do this to build my karma.
mm,
So I just made this into an attainment.
mhm,
And and I said, I'm not doing this in a very genuine way. And of course, I was just teaching, passed on knowledge from many different gurus and sages
Yeah.
and everybody, right? And in a sense, the people was the people that I was helping. Um, Initially, there was earnestness, but on at the very end, um, there was almost like like that I thought that I had to save them or something. So I stopped. I said, because I'm not seeing them equally. That's like a messiah complex now. What the hell is happening? And then of course I questioned what I was doing, because you know what, if you look at the way that the saints and the sages appeared, like I still had suffering because I was thinking about my mom, but I thought I had to pretend to be always peaceful and quiet and
Yeah.
sitting
Yeah.
and everything, and I could not cry anymore. But what I'm seeing now is that everyone is already awake. Not the person, not the idea, right? But in between the person and no person, or self or no self, it's awake. It's here. It can't be denied. So when this undoing, it's beautiful. There's authenticity, there's aliveness, right? And seeing that there's no more hierarchy, like Vipula and Emerson, there's no difference. It's just names. If we take away the name, if we take away the words, then there's this immediacy and there's clarity. And yeah, it's been really beautiful, expressing
And
this.
also your words kind of resonate in such a way that the first thing that happens is, I mean, this is how I feel, and this is how I feel right now. It's like that seeking part, it starts collapsing.
Yeah.
What is next? What is next? I want to hear
Yeah,
his
I
next
always say
word.
this,
Next word.
there's no next. There's no next. What's in between the past and the future? There's this something that can't be said here. And what this is infinite. When you start thinking, it tries to take you to the next.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
But there's no next, because that's just a thought. So what if you can't go to the next? Then what's to seek? Then you see the immediacy of life, like the trees, then it stops. The thinking, the longing stops. Even if thinking happens, the desire stops to go to the next or whatever, because it's irrelevant. There's something that is so inexplicable in the grass, the dewdrops on top of a grass, the smell of the flower,
Exactly.
the sun on your skin, talking to your partner, your wife, or sons or kids or whatever. For me, it's my nephews and nieces, and I see the aliveness and everything, and it's just wow. Rather than listening to or reading books about this, there's so much beauty already that it doesn't need to be learned. So there's this, I was talking to someone, and there's this person that has been a scholar for a long, long time. And he kept on saying, Emerson, I don't know. And it feels great to not know. Like, yeah, because there's no more anchor. Knowing is so heavy. Beliefs are so suffocating. So in the absence of belief and knowing, there's almost this buoyancy, this lightness. There's nothing, nowhere else to go.
Would you again, there was this free fall, but then the free fall is, if you take it as a concept, oh, now I had to fall free. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the dilemma. It's the sometimes when you, for instance, when you say things, it definitely it resonates. It
Yeah. So I
I
don't
can't
like
explain that.
repeating, I don't like
Mm,
repeating other
yeah.
people's words over and over
Mm,
again, because it just becomes
mm.
parroting. People are parroting, and it becomes a cheap imitation. You probably have, people that are repeating the same message over and over and
Oh
over
yeah,
again. They're
yeah,
just they're just
exactly.
like a recording, and it's just it's It's stale, it's stagnant, it's old school. There's the freshness here. For example, when I say, it's like jumping off a plane, but without a parachute, but there's no landing. It's not free falling, but it's just a floating. It's floating in between, right? The moment that you land, then there's a knowing. Yeah, so I try to not say words repeatedly. I always change my words, even from before, because I noticed that the seeker holds on to the words. It becomes a belief system, and it becomes the burden. It becomes the very obstacle to liberation is the speaker itself. Because if you believe the speaker, you're doomed. So that's why I say, don't believe in what I say, hear in what I don't say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I can say a whole bunch of concepts and everything, but that will just create another hoarding of what I'm saying, right? And it's pointless. And it's almost like when I was a speaker, more in the radical side, I kept on looking at people. I'm like, why are they here every week? Why? Why is it no one is leaving? So I would contact them, and I'm like, hey, do you want to do a one-on-one? Do you want to stop this seeking? And there's so much joy when people don't come to the meetings anymore. I don't want followers, right? So
Yeah.
so I do the one-on-ones to get rid of the follower or the seeker, so that we can just become friends. The people
Absolutely.
the people that used to come here and meet me in Toronto. I'm in Toronto, Canada. We used to have kind of like a meeting, like a satsang or something. After a few weeks, they all stop seeking. We all go to eat now. So we go to restaurants to eat as friends.
Uh, Emerson, this is a mundane question. This is like uh, uh, okay. Now I can't use any words actually. Now I don't know what to use now to
That's
ask this
okay.
question.
Use any words,
Uh,
because even the belief that no words is just another thing. Yeah.
Another thing. Now, for instance, is there any kind of a cleansing in terms of, as you know, we have this, what we call these thoughts, thoughts that will make you judge something. This a good person, this a bad person. And then feelings, for instance, uh, even sexuality for that matter, these feelings which, I mean, basically you are designed for that.
Yeah.
And then, that sort of thing, ill will. Now, is there a kind of a transformation? Uh, Actually, I'm scared to ask that question now because you sorted it from the very beginning. Uh, But I'm still asking this because
So
when
the
you look at
question is,
yourself,
yeah. So the question is trying to go to the next, trying to see if,
mm,
if there is a transformation in the narrative, right? It's irrelevant, because everything already is perfection without thinking
beautiful.
about it. The thinking creates this idea that there's something wrong or something missing. So
Mm,
whether it be desire or sexuality or food or
mm,
thoughts and everything, it's just all an appearance. It's just all pulsating. But there's something
mhm,
that is still in a pulsation that cannot be touched. So you can also say that it's also innocent. Everything is innocent. And and then when there's no more burden or weight of judgment, right? Even if judgment happens, what's between judgment and no judgment? And when you go in between, it clears up that you can't say it.
mm.
What's between wrong or right? What's between desire and no desire? So the thought is just trying to go to an opposite to make it better or worse, right? So
Mm,
there's a
mm,
trap and there's an entrapment here of the words, because the words will always try to go to the next. And then even feelings, for example, if you say that I feel bad, um, then there is the thoughts, there's sensations that happen in the body, and the thought
mm,
hijacks it and calls it bad so that
Yeah.
you feel good. So what's between bad and good?
Mm.
And it's quite fascinating, right? Because we are, you know, just words. But there's something that we can't discuss here of what we truly are that is inexplicable, that is neither a self or no self, that is neither this nor that, that's neither stillness or movement. It's in the middle, but you can't see it. You can't know it. But somehow there's a peacefulness that permeates,
Mm.
a tranquility, that because there's no more longing for the next, or there's a radiance sometimes when you're walking, or there's a directness when you're talking to a loved one. The
Mm.
fragrance smells much better, right? There's a
Yeah.
a wowness to it. And then also, even if sadness appears, then there's also a saying that that's something that is just a temporary.
Mm.
It's not about denying it. So it's in between sadness and no sadness. It just is whatever seems to appear.
I was wondering when we were small, when we see a rainbow,
Yeah.
we used to watch that rainbow with so much of, that was like a miracle. Your mouth opens and then you look at it and you
I
are not
still,
even.
I'm back to that. I'm like a kid again. I saw a rainbow,
Mm.
and then I saw this beautiful, like er, this morning when I was walking, there was like a faint golden glow of the sunrise. And it's spring,
Mm.
it's like fall here now, so it's a bit chilly. It's beginning to get
Mm.
colder. And
Yeah.
I can't even explain it, right? It's so beautiful. There's something that is so beautiful that you can't say it. There's something that makes you cry, right? You know what I'm saying? And it's just,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
it's not a thought. It's not, it's not a concept. It's not an idea. Because are we really looking at the sky, or do we just call it the sky? Are we really
Mm.
feeling joy, or do we just call it joy?
Yeah.
Are we really
Exactly.
angry even, or it's just reactions? Right? There's something that is so ah, you know, I can't explain it, but it's so immediate. It doesn't have to be called there's no one here. It's all awareness,
Mm.
consciousness. Those words are just like snowflakes or raindrops.
Why are people so much attached to a story? Now, for instance, if I'm still working, I'm still a lecturer, and then I do consultancies and so on. Now, of course, these interviews are just a passion, and I'm trying to communicate, trying to grasp something and communicate it. Now, the story of me, it's okay. You go and talk to someone, and then you listen to that person about what he or she has to say. Um, it's me doing that, me doing this, and I have this. Well, it's not, again, I would call it knowledge, but the ability to see the bigger picture, because you relate something of correlation between one and another, whereas it's huge. I mean, if you are talking about a correlation, while you and I are talking, the sun is shining over there.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
all it's
Well,
all there. It's just
the way that I see this is like a masterpiece, right? Like a giant painting that
absolutely, yeah.
there is, one corner there's like angelic, and beauty and transcendence, and then one side
Mm.
is agony and suffering and everything. And then there's brilliant colors of bright blue, and there's dark hues of black and
Yeah.
gray. And then there's if you've ever been to Rome, they have these giant paintings by Michelangelo, or
Mm.
and then but it's just there's just it you get caught up in one side. But if you start
Mm.
walking back and you're like, oh wow, it's a masterpiece, because it evokes so many different emotions and everything. So, for example, if death happens in the family, then that's probably the dark
Mm.
paintings. And then if there's birth in a family, that's the angelic realm or something. And in
Yes.
between all of that, there's life full of mystery and full of suffering and stories and oppression and liberation and all of the opposites appearing. But it's just a painting. It's
Mm.
like there's this infinite artist that is not a being or not a source, but it's
Mm.
actually empty. But the empty is also teeming with I can't even say it, with gold and black and all of these different expressions of something that can never be expressed. Right? So there's an infinite, and then a finite mind is trying to capture it.
Mm. Mm.
It tries to capture it in words, but the words are like dreamlish. So any word that we say
No,
is completely insignificant. Any thought that we have is insignificant. It's so minute compared to this vastness, right? That is like
exactly.
that I can't even think
Exactly.
about. Yeah.
That's why I always felt to say it is unknowable or
Yeah.
the unknowability. It's a great word. I mean, although it is a word,
So
but
this is
it's
the way that
great.
I say it now. It's between knowing and unknowing.
Mm.
Because even if you say it's unknowable, who knows that it's unknowable?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
true,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. And then it becomes another position again, right?
Emerson, before I forget, since this came off you, there are speakers who are comparing this to a dream, to
Yeah.
show that in a dream, while you are in a dream, everything is real.
Yeah.
It's only when you wake up, you know that you have been dreaming. And this can be compared to a dream because in dream, it's just one event and there are no doers.
Yeah.
And if I ask you the same question, I mean, would you compare this existence to a dream? Although it's just an example only,
Yeah.
uh, how would you react?
So the way that I explain it's a bit different now. Like I've evolved from, I used to say that too. But what's between dream and awakeness? You can't say it really. So
Uh,
for example,
Yeah.
you can say that the dreams are the language and the awakeness is silence. What's in between that? So every time that
Mm,
you're thinking, it's almost like dreaming because you're coming up with a narrative with a made up word, you know, letters that are made up. Like, for example, language is different all over the world, right?
mm.
Words are, if you look up a word, it's just more words. So I'm going really directly with the word dream. And the word dream is just, it's just 5-letter word. So the
Yeah,
moment that
yeah,
you
it
start
is.
believing that it's a dream, then it becomes another trap.
Mm,
So what I say is what's between dream and awake, there's something that can't be said. Because, for example, during the day, do you even remember what you did, like last night?
mm. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Can you remember the whole detail of what happened yesterday? So it's very
Mm,
dreamlike, right? So I say, like a dream. I don't want to go into a position that it's a dream, right? So, because that's just another knowledge. So there's something here
today,
that is inexplicable, that is very
mm,
dreamlike, basically, right? So when there is this undoing of words, when you see that all the words are made up, all beliefs, all thoughts, language is dreamlish, basically, I call it, right? Then
mm,
the
okay.
thoughts and the dreams becomes like almost like effervescent. It doesn't have much meaning to it anymore. But what's more prominent is the silence, is the deep sleep,
Mm, mm.
is that, and
Okay.
that's the inexplicable. Yeah.
Because, of course, when you speak, you use some of those non-dual words here and there,
Yeah.
you know. However, when you are presenting it, you ensure that the listener will not walk into a trap and
Yeah.
grab that
Yeah.
concept of that word. Oh, now it's a dream. Oh, he said it's a dream.
Yeah.
It's like a
So
dream,
that's why I don't go there
Eh,
anymore. Yeah. That's why I say what's in between dream and awake, right? so that I don't have to pass on a belief system. Because the moment that I pass on a belief system, then it becomes another burden. Then it becomes another obstacle. Because if what I'm trying to say, like what everybody's trying to say, you know what, if you ask any non-dual speaker, they'll say, it's unknowable. This cannot be known. But it looks like that they know that it's unknowable, which is BS.
Exactly. Yeah, but
They just
probably
heard it
this
from
is
someone. Yeah, they just heard it from someone. So they just repeat it over and over again.
really,
There's no one really that's original, right? So it's just watered down versions, or it's within the parameter. If you look at it, everybody from the awareness basically is coming from that awareness consciousness, almost like something that is divine. It's like someone is, and then if you go to the radical, then it's basically more kind of like an atheistic version of that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So both
Because
are just
I
belief
mean,
systems. Yeah.
Exactly. Emerson, this is probably the last question.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I mean, uh, I, like from the very first minute of hearing you, I thought it was like uh, it resonates rather. I mean, in the very first minute, it looks like to me you just said it, and 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 you immediately help the listener to drop this all what you are hanging on to,
Yeah.
and because you have dropped a lot of concept early and grabbed non-dual concept. This is something that has happened. So I think the way you started this was great. It's just great because what is in between? What is the difference between you and me? I always had this because in seeing through, I mean, probably not by person, not through knowledge, but seeing through helps, you know, to do away with judgments, because I mean, who are we to judge? Because it's happening from just one end, making the judgment. It's beautiful, actually. Uh, if you are to give a message to the ones who are going to watch this eventually, how would you like to end this conversation?
Yeah.
Uh, Please,
There's
your
no
stage.
next.
Please
Yeah,
take
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
any.
In this immediacy, in this very direct, expression of something that can't be expressed, it's just really, really simple, right? There is no next, there's no past. So in between the mind and no mind, with all of its chatter and noise, it falls silent in this direct encounter. So there's no judgments, there's no comparisons, no looking or striving for anything or any comprehension, any knowledge to remain, right? It's just a deep, unshakable peace that seems to permeate in each moment. It's like a peace that cannot really be understood. It's the stillness that is so raw, very profound, and yet very comforting. So, in this directness, without the concept of non duality or spirituality, in this directness without word, life unfolds as a spontaneous, ever shifting dance of what already is. So each moment comes and goes, but it fades in perfect harmony without the need for control or manipulation. There's like a deep, deep, deep flow of life, a recognition that everything is unfolding exactly as it is. So, no need for any teachers or speakers or gurus or any authority figure. There is something that cannot be said, something that cannot be believed, something that cannot be known, in the silence. And there's an eternal, I don't know. And it's perfect. Trying to go to the next, trying to go to just create
Good.
suffering, right? So there's just this eternal rest here. There's a peace, saying that's resting eternally. And it doesn't need an extra knowledge or an understanding or any teachers for that matter. That's basically what I'm trying to express.
Right. Emerson, I don't want to ask you because I think within this short interview, I think there are some powerful messages, although we don't want to use the word powerful, but
I don't even
it
like the message
hits.
anymore.
Yeah, because it hits here. It's not here.
It's just
It's here.
poetry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
exactly. Yeah. So therefore, I think uh, and permit me to state your websites and other contact details because there will be people who will seek one-on-one after seeing this. So I'll go to your website and I'll put your contact
Oh,
details on
thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you,
when
Vipula. Yeah.
when I publish this because uh, I don't know. For me, this is a calling. Now. Yeah, I just sent you a message and you appeared. I said, "Can I interview you?" So it happens.
And it's
it's
funny
like a
because I
calling for
haven't
me.
I haven't even been doing interviews. Many people have been asking, right? So
I know. Yeah,
because I'm like it's
it's because
pointless.
uh,
Yeah.
I mean we are far away because nearly 12 hours,
Yeah.
the time difference. So thank you very much indeed, Dimashan. I
Yeah.
really appreciate because something I must mention before I finish, because what I saw you probably 2, 3 years ago was this so much of altruism. And I saw it in you. It's I can't explain this. So that's why I asked that word transformation. The transformation probably is seen. It's not something that can be expressed because you were doing it for others, and you never attempted to show. Well, I have seen this. Now I want to show this.
Yeah.
Kind of. That was beautiful. Thank you again,
Thank you so
Immersion.
much,
We'll
Vipula.
keep in touch. Right,
Thank you so
great.
much,
And
everyone.
just